All right, so I'll give a little context. Sorry about that, because my phone did not have enough space even to say everything that I need to say. So I'm back again. So basically, after reviewing what I was talking about, he looks at me, and again, I'll never forget this shit, man. Like, this shit fucking happened to me, and it's actually what I had to go through, man. Um, and so he looks at me and he goes, "You're gonna pay me back for everything. Everything that you caused me, and all the stuff that you caused me, because of that, you're not doing anything. You're going nowhere. You're not gonna do anything fun. You're not gonna have any sort of privacy." I mean, that was already gone, as I told you. He already was at the point where he took my own door off of my room, And so, you know, I'm sitting here just feeling like I'm in a box, and basically come that summer, being a junior into becoming a senior in high school, I was like, you know what, man? Like, I'm just being put in this box. I'm having to go with my dad because I had to go with him everywhere after that. Um, and it wasn't just like, oh, you're coming with me because I'm concerned for your health. Like, no, it was like, you're coming with me because this is your punishment, and this is like my way of showing you can't do shit, and you're not gonna have any choice in life. Like, I control your life. I decide if you sink or float. And that was the type of demeanor. And then you top it off with the treatment that I was receiving, day in, day out. It became, unbearable, to the point where, I already felt like my dad didn't care about my life. I tried to, take my own life, and he didn't even acknowledge it, really. Didn't even talk to me about it. Didn't even try and see, what it was that was going on in my head. Nothing, man. Nothing. So, again, all of this stuff added up, and it was to the point, man, where again it started to add up to where I began not caring about anything, man. I started smoking weed, like I said. And that summer, I remember, many times looking after my siblings and having to watch them or babysit them. And you know, I'll keep it real, man. I invited friends over, a lot of my homies and people that watch this, they'll know. Like, they remember coming over to my house, and, we would smoke, or we would hang out, not always just smoking. We would hang out in the backyard, when I wasn't supposed to have people over. Things like that, man. I started doing just seclusive stuff like that I knew would get me in trouble. And I didn't care, man, because I was already in trouble. I was already in the deepest of the deep, and even receiving that when I wasn't even supposed to be receiving any type of treatment like that, because I wasn't making bad decisions like that, man. Um, and this was all just cause and effect, dude. Like, I learned this more as I've grown up, more than practically anyone, I feel like, that I know personally, on a personal basis, because of not just things that I've gone through and received treatment from, but how, you know, the career even that I'm in now, and just understanding child development and youth development, not just on the ASD side, autism spectrum disorder, you know, um, because, I'll give a brief, I am a behavioral technician currently right now. I have a good career now currently, but man, shoot, after this situation that I'm talking about, man, to track back, you know, I worked, from job to job, worked my way up after being homeless, from my junior summer into my senior year of high school. I worked my job that I had at that grocery store. I kept that job throughout the whole year, practically the whole school year, until I did have to make a decision and, focus on if I'm going to college or not, or what I'm going to do with my life. I could honestly say that I remember missing so much school that I almost didn't even pass or was gonna be given. I got lucky, man. I got lucky. The school knew what I was going through, and they had me take a test to check my knowledge, and a test that basically had all the curriculum I was supposed to know. And I had, for every class, I had to take a test to graduate, and I passed all of those tests and learned everything that I needed to technically pass officially those classes so I could get my diploma. But dude, like, that whole year of, you know, leaving my house from that summer after making the choices that I did, and finally having to come to terms with one of the hardest decisions in my life, having to trust as a young adult, you know, a young teen at that time, you know, 17, 18 years old, and I'm having to sit there and be like, man, like, all right, like, am I supposed to be living in my home? Am I supposed to be here to be successful in my life? Like, is that the road that I'm supposed to go down? And just more and more, again, it didn't feel like that was the case, man. Like I was supposed to be there. It didn't feel like people actually cared. And you know, it's funny, man, to this day, you know, with how the reactions are and how I'm treated by my family, you know, a majority of my family, other than on my mom's side, which is my mom, my birth mom, my sister from my birth mom, who is probably, I'd say, the middle of all my siblings in age difference. Um, they care about me, I know, unconditionally, and they always will. But every single other person, my dad cares, but my dad did the things that he did to me, man, and it's hard to mend our relationship now because of it. It sucks, because, you know, I've let go of the things along with him, but that history's still there, man. And you know, things have been done that weren't acknowledged before, that needed to be acknowledged then, that, you know, it did play a big impact into who I am today and how I carry myself and how I act, you know. And it's not me saying that and making an excuse like I act poorly, but no, man, there's cause and effect for everything in this life, you know, and everyone sees that in different ways, you know. So to come back to what I'm getting to here, you know, I end up leaving, you know, that summer, going into my senior year. I keep my job. I do everything that I need to graduate, you know, and I end up graduating, but, you know, I don't really know what I'm gonna do with my life. And my ex's family at the time, she and her family helped me get my social security card, helped me get my ID back from my dad, and my birth certificate, like my actual one, because I wasn't born in the US. I was born in Radom, Poland. So I have my certificate, you know, that's only from there, and only one original copy, you know, and or one original and then one copy of it, you know. So, you know, I had to figure all this out, man, and figure all this out from their help, you know, and them explaining everything that I needed to know in life, regards to getting a career and, you know, keeping a career, and then, you know, what to do in transition after high school. And, you know, you know, that was about the last help that I got from them, you know, because I'll be honest, things didn't work out with that ex, you know, and I'll be real with you, man, because of that, I got in a really bad depression. And, you know, I don't need to go into all that, but I got in a really bad depression, I could say. And it wasn't just because of that, it was because of the things on top of everything that I was going through, you know, with homelessness. By that point, it had already been a whole year and a half, I'd say, for how long I was homeless. So, you know, I was already accustomed to the lifestyle and the treatment that I was gonna be having to deal with. But, you know, coming full circle of it all, you know, I had to do what I had to do, you know. I had to figure out life very fast and how to, keep jobs, you know, how to act at certain jobs and in certain circumstances, you know, whether it's terrible coworkers or, you know, unjust coworkers or, you know, the little things that we all, I'm sure, experience in life at some point. Um, but, you know, I had to figure out how to act maturely at jobs, you know, and that's, it's such a minor thing, but I think to truly understand that, not just how to act, but you know, how to carry yourself and how to like keep yourself cordial at a job, you know, with others, even the others that, you know, may not be giving much effort compared to you or may not be treating you the same way that you treat them, and it might not be for, you know, just causes, you know, but you know, figuring out how to basically behave in society, man, I had to figure that out really quick. And I had to think about, you know, what is it that's more important to me? Is it keeping my job or sticking up for this person? Or, you know, which was a problem for me growing up. You know, I'd always try and stick up for people. I'd always try and vouch for people. I'd always try and help others, you know, and I just had to learn, you know, a lot of social aspects that I wasn't taught, and little things like my taxes that I had to figure out, you know, on my own, you know, just everything up until this point, man. I, you know, being the real adult lessons in life, you know, any and everything, bro. Even still to this day, I'm still learning, man, because nobody ever gave me the opportunity to teach me. I was too busy receiving like judgment, or I was too busy receiving punishment, you know, or being treated in a way that, you know, it just it began to be just not humane, you know, from what are things that I briefly shared, you know, here. And you know, I've only shared the most impactful things, you know. There's so much more to everything than what I'm even sharing here now, but I'm giving you guys the picture again so that you can understand, you know, just what exactly I went through. And you know, from day to day, you know, from again the emotional abuse to the eventual, because it wasn't always, it was eventual at the end before I decided to leave for good reason, neglect, you know, and it started to be almost purposeful, you know, from my dad. So, you know, eventually I left, you know, and again, come a full year, I graduate, you know, I do everything that I need to myself, you know, through my dad trying to make my life harder, withholding my, you know, my birth certificates, my IDs, my social. I had to go and get again my own social card, you know, from the Social Security office, you know. I had to do it all, man. And yes, I got assistance guiding me in the right direction, but I had to do it, dude. And it's just, you know, to be where I'm at now, you know, from starting off working in warehouses and, you know, fast food places, you know, as a cashier or warehouse associate, to working my way up job to job, just using my resume, you know, not continuing with college, just taking the working man's road that I feel like I was forced to take on. It's like I got to the point where I'm at now, man. And now I'm a behavioral technician. I work in a completely different field from what my last career was, being a prep chef in an environment that was really toxic, and for a terrible employer who was, you know, treating us all like garbage, um, you know, getting talked to basically like trash every single day, to working in what I feel like I was supposed to be in all along, which is, you know, working on a more personal side, a client basis, you know, and now I'm helping kids who face challenges with ASD, you know, you know, today I'm practically about to go back and I'm about to go help another client right now, you know. But my point being with all of this here is that, you know, that's the type of road that I took. I took the working man's road after high school, and even through being homeless still, you know. I could say that after that year and a half, you know, from my junior year of summer to graduating, you know, as a senior, you know, being a year and a half already of homelessness, it wasn't until after I graduated, I could say about a year and a half after that, that I had to still be homeless, you know. At one point, I stayed with my grandparents from my mom's side, and I got so sick at one point with them. Things were going great with them. They were helping me out. I came to them seeking help after, you know, yet again, another time when that ex that I had brought up, her family was like, man, you need to find somebody that can really take you in and help you grow your life. And I went to my grandparents, and my grandparents on my birth mom's side. And again, what I'm getting to, I got so sick at one point because I refused to eat the food that they had, that they were offering me, because one thing that I faced, you know, through homelessness and through, you know, losing all my friends at my high school because they found out things that I was going through. And unfortunately, I had people who were my friends even who ended up spreading, you know, personal information and things that were going on in my life regarding homelessness that, you know, they ended up helping me out and then basically backstabbing me by telling everyone what I was going through, and making me, you know, have all these rumors come back to me, and people look at me even weirder because they really know what's going on now. And so my point being with sharing all that is that, um, you know, I think it's just that that was kind of the dynamic of transition into the working world, where, you know, I had to just figure it out and be like, you know what, man, like, I'm gonna work and I'm just gonna build for my life from what it's been, because, you know, I didn't have any other option. And, you know, I had to get, like I said, you know, all the resources and documents, you know, that I needed to get so that I could be successful in that way. Um, and you know, it taught me, you know, to persevere and fight through everything that I get faced with, and not quit even when it seems impossible. Because, you know, I've been faced that many times in life. And what I'm getting to with the situation that I'm bringing up with my grandparents, you know, I was working, and I think the point of what I was just bringing up right now, and I'm sorry, I'm all over the place with this, is that my grandparents knew that I was working at a Jack in the Box at the time. And they knew that I was a very neglectful person, and they knew that I refused to be a burden. And that always had been a thing with me through being homeless. You know, it was very always hard for me to accept help and accept when other people were actually trying to do good to me, because I felt like I was always burdening others. I never asked to stay at anybody's house that helped me out even. They forced me to stay with them because they were like, dude, like, you're not gonna sleep in my car again. Like, you're not gonna sleep, you know, by yourself in the cold, like outside, like, let me help you. And I'd always be like, no, dude. There are many times when people tried to help me and I'd say no, or I would just be like, no, I'm okay, man. Like, I'll be good. And like, you know, even when I know I'm not good or I don't want to actually leave, I'm like, nah, man, like, this is in my house. I can't do that. Like, you know, I can't put these people in my shoes or put them under what I should be going through and have to be going through. So I would always neglect it. But I bring this up because, you know, I came to my grandparents. I trusted in them yet again, and this is the last time that I ever trusted in any family like that. After I had graduated, you know, from high school, and, you know, I basically was like, yeah, you know, can you help me out, you know, just to at least live here? I won't be in your guys' way. Like, I won't even, you know, try and make myself present, you know, and they accepted, you know, me to come there, but they were, of course, open arms for me, you know, have any food you need, take a shower when you need, like, you know, whatever you need type of deal. And it was fine, you know, things were fine. They were cordial. Um, but all of a sudden, you know, one week I got really, really sick. I had I ended up finding out I had gastroenteritis, because the only fucking thing I was practically eating for 3 meals a day was Jack in the Box because we got free food, you know? So I basically was eating Jack in the Box for a good, you know, this is while I'm still homeless for a period of time and being domesticated again for a couple months, you know, because I only stayed with them for a couple months at that time, until I got sick because of it all. And sure enough, man, I got sick to the point where I couldn't keep anything down, not even water, for a whole week almost. And by midweek, that Wednesday, um, my grandpa was like, man, I gotta take you to the hospital. We gotta find out what's wrong. So we did. We went to the hospital. I got checked out, all that. Um, and they basically told me that I had gastroenteritis. We come back, and, you know, my grandpa showed concern, you know, as he should. And then I kind of just, you know, recovered from it all. It wasn't until the next day, or 2 days after, that my grandpa was asking me, like, oh, did the hospital call you? They said they'd call you, this and that. Um, you know, and I was like, no, they haven't called me, you know. And sure enough, man, I don't know what, my grandpa has never yelled. He's always been a very, just reserved Christian man, almost like Mormon Christian, like is how my grandfather was on my mom's side. And I don't know what came over him or what really sparked him. Could have been the conflicts that he was having with my own dad, because him and my dad had, you know, some conflicts that he was really uncomfortable with, I remember. But yeah, he basically just was like, yeah, Jacoby, can I talk to you? At the time, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, you know, I go to the couch, and he just hits me with, you know, so has the hospital talked to you at all? Has he contacted you? Have they contacted you? And I'm like, no, they haven't. But, you know, I'm beginning to start feeling better now. You know, I'm able to eat toast now and this and that. And he just instantly kind of like is like, well, you don't care about your life and you're not caring about your health, so you're putting a danger to my health and your grandma's health, because they were older, you know, at the time, and they still are to this day. You know, they're elderly, and yeah, he basically got pissed for the first time. I never saw him mad. He was always so reserved and such a kind voiced man. I remember I never heard him raise his voice, not once, in the many years that I knew him. But that was the first time he was just like, he just yelled, and he was like, no, you don't care about your life. You don't care about your health. Um, you know, so because of that, you have until the end of the week. You have to go. And I was like, I was shocked. I was shocked, man, because like I never thought that him of all people, you know, would do something like that, or look at me and be like, man, like, I don't care about you. You know, this is the same grandfather that when my parents were divorced, you know, he took me in, and with another brother of mine who lives with them to this day, who, again, I'm never going to see him again. I'm probably never going to talk to him because of this situation I'm talking about. And in that moment, when he's telling me all of this, I was shocked, of course. My mouth actually dropped. I was like, holy shit, like, he doesn't give a fuck about me, man. Like, and I thought that he was like this really good Christian man. Like, what the heck? Like, this was the dude who, like, you know, I thought was one of the nicest human beings in the world, practically. And not just because he was Christian, it was just how he acted, man. And yeah, in that moment I was like, you know what? Don't even worry about Grandpa. I'm so sorry. I literally said, I'm so sorry. And then I looked at my brother. I was like, because my brother was sitting right there on the couch, the other couch. And I was like, I'm so sorry, Will. I have to go. And I left. I left, man. I grabbed all my bags, all my stuff. I walked to a nearby park and I left my stuff there. I was there. I slept out there that night. And then the next morning, I had a buddy of mine come and get me because I had off for the next 2 days, thankfully. So I was able to clear my mind. But I had a friend who picked me up at the time, and I'll never forget him to this day, either. But he picked me up and he was like, hey man, like, come with me to my uncle's house out in Manteca. Like, we're just gonna hang out for the weekend, you and me. I'll let you figure everything out that you need to, and we'll just hang out, man. And that's what we did. I went with him and we hung out. We had a great weekend. You know, he took me back, you know, the day that I was supposed to work again. And I went to work and I showed up for my job and I brought all my stuff with me, and then I kept it there, man, at that Jack in the Box. And eventually that Jack in the Box ended up throwing away all my stuff. All my stuff. I, of course, had my more important clothes and belongings, documents wise, but they threw away all my stuff because I didn't come to get it in the time that they wanted me to. And yeah, that sucked, man. That was something impactful too that happened in my life. And yeah, I couldn't do a damn thing about it, you know? So, you know, that was that. And after that scenario, I was homeless for about, I'd say maybe like half a year or so after that. And then, you know, I was just continuing to try and work my job. I was going place to place. And by this time I was just sleeping out at parks because, you know, I already graduated high school. I didn't have any friends like that who were there for me. So by that point I was really just completely alone, for, again, about 6 months, until a buddy of mine whose family, and I won't mention, you know, the family or who these people are, everything, you know, related to others, I'm keeping confidential, for a good reason. But needless to say, I had a family take me in, and I was with them for, you know, because they didn't want me to be on the streets. And from that friend to the whole family. And it was my friend, his mom, the mom's boyfriend, and the aunt and uncle and their family, their kids, all under one house. And they all were willing to take me in, and that is one of the most thankful situations that I could have had happen to me, because without them, I guarantee you I would not be here today. There's a chance that would have happened, because it was rough, man. I got rained on many nights out in the cold. I remember being outside, sleeping outside, 35 degrees, bro. Like, it was that bad. I'm not playing. Like, it was that bad. I remember checking my phone and being out there, my iPod Touch, and being out there and being like, fuck, man, this sucks. Like, why? Like, I if I had $1 for every time I cursed God, and not cursed at him, but I sat there and I was like, why, God, why? You know, pleading like in a movie. And dude, I had to get through it, man. I had to get through it, and I did. You know, thank God willing. You know, but you know, eventually family did take me in, and they housed me for, I would say, 2 years, until I ended up having a falling out, man. The mom's boyfriend got mad at me one day because I everything was completely fine, man, like completely fine, but I started noticing my friend's mom's boyfriend started to kind of like get weird with me, and he began harassing me because I got out of the depression that I was in from everything that I had gone through, from things with my ex to the homelessness and the neglect I was even giving myself, through proper hygiene and things like that, to other aspects. And you know he started to act really weird and harass me, and get on my case about really weird things, and eventually he revealed everything that he felt deep down, because I'll be honest, man, he got really drunk one night, and he was an avid drinker, and to the point where he sometimes acted out of pocket, and towards me, that began to happen, where he began getting more comfortable acting that way towards me. And so there was one day where I already had threatened, prior to the scenario, to leave the house for good because of how I was getting treated by him and the grandfather from my friend. They began saying things to me like I was a leech towards my friend's mom, and that I was over here trying to take advantage of her, and things like that. Things that just were completely not valid or true at all, because I always was honorable and tried to be honorable, and that's always who I've been to this damn day. So, at the time, I was always trying to defend myself and feel like I had to prove, my point, and prove that I'm innocent, or that I am genuine. But, they basically attacked me, man, and were harassing me time and time again. And it seemed like nobody was just believing me, even at the fact when I did bring up the couple scenarios that did take place that were just completely out of pocket, man, to come at a young adult like that, who is trying to better their life and is doing at least the right things, in trying to be honorable, just complete things that they were unaware of and understanding of, and more so just judging on. And eventually, again, one night, mom's boyfriend got pissed at me, talking about thinking that I took his burrito salsa. Crazy, dude, like over burrito salsa. I'll never forget this too. And he comes at me all crazy and basically starts like getting up in my face, talking about, like, starts revealing deep thoughts, because he was drunk. And he's over here talking about, oh, ever since I got that weight set, that bench press, you've been thinking you're the shit, and you got that pull-up bar, now you think you're all hard, and martial arts now, so you think you're a badass, and this and that, and like all this stuff that I'm like, dude, like, wait a minute, these are your thoughts. Like, what the fuck does this have to do with me? Like, I'm getting out of a depression. I'm proud of myself for getting off of the fucking couch that I was sleeping on and getting outside in the backyard. As simple as that can be, that's like the greatest victory of my life. So what the fuck are you talking about? I was working on my head kick last night. Like, you're over here saying that I'm the shit just because I can put up fucking one plate on each side, I'm like, of the fucking bench press, man. Like, why are you on me, type of deal. And it was terrible, man. And so he tried to end up fighting me. He actually got physical with me and tried to swing on me. And because of that, man, we ended up getting in this grappling exchange. I'm over here trying to, duck it, and I block it, and I tried to counter him, and I did. I countered him, and I fucking dropped his ass, and I fucking got on top of him. I was trying to hit him. not hard, but I was trying to hit him, honestly speaking. And, you know, he was trying to do the same to me. He was trying to get on top of me, you know, way bigger than me, fucking big ass motherfucker on me, trying to hit me. Fucking, I was doing the same to him. My ex at that time was, you know, doing some out of pocket shit. I remember she spat on him. She fucking was cussing at him, all this shit. My friend's mom was trying to get involved and break us apart. Same with my friend. And, you know, literally right after that situation and during that situation, I told him, I remember I was like, you're just like my dad, man. And I left. I was like, I'm done. I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna put myself in this situation anymore where I feel hated and like I'm being a target, you know, for other people's, you know, misfortune or bad attitudes. You know, I'm not gonna be a part of something toxic like that. So I said, you know what, man, I'm leaving. I'm gone. It's better if I leave. And I left right then and there. I grabbed all my stuff yet again. Grabbed all my stuff, left. I went to my job down the street, and yet again, I was homeless again for a good, I'd say half a year yet again, until, you know, I finally found my own place, and it was just a room for rent, but I made it, man, and I got out of it all. So, you know, I think with sharing all of this, you know, it's just to give, this was a brief and best description I could give of things that I've been through in my life that were very impactful and very hard to deal with. And there's so much more I could touch on, but just overall play-by-play of my life. So you guys could understand, man, just not only what I've been through, but because it's not just about that or what I've been through, but this is made, and this was all made for people who have gone through similar adversities, or not even similar in every aspect, but even if in some ways, you know, it could at least help someone who it feels like their back is against the wall, or feels like no one's listening to them, or feels like they don't have any other option, but they're getting forced to have to adapt to a scenario, you know, that whether it's uncomfortable or it's, you know, excuse me, I'm sorry, or it's concerning, you know, I just hope that it can help someone, you know, even cope with the things that have either been done to them, whether it's, you know, have been done or that they feel, whether it's depression, whether it's homelessness, whether it's abuse, you know. I just hope that truly everything that I shared can help you. And I'm kind of cutting it short, you know, but I think everything that I've touched on, I feel like I've touched on, to where you guys at least can understand that those things that have happened in these scenarios, you know, it's only made me a stronger person personally. It's only made me understand the world better and how to treat others. And, you know, to this day, you know, in my case, my stepmom may act like I don't exist and wants to, you know, try and act like I'm this same version of my own dad, when I know the man that I am and I'll never be anything close to that. You know, my dad trying to be there in my life, but I really could care less if he is or not, you know, sadly, and that's because of actions he made, you know, so he has to take that up, not me. I'm good in my life no matter what. You know, same as if my stepmom wants to treat me like I'm existent, just like she tries to program my siblings to be the same and treat me the same, like, you know, when I have always shown everyone in my family unconditional love. You know, my grandparents neglecting me and leaving me to die basically on the streets, you know, not their problem, you know, so I gotta do what I gotta do. And, you know, it's why I think I'll leave last, that everyone that I meet in my life up until this point that isn't family towards me, blood related, has always meant so much more to me as though they are blood related, because I know that the people that really care about me do care, and they show it each and every day, and they won't see me, you know, be sad and not say something. They won't see me be down and not be there for me. You know, they'll always be there for me because they know that I would be there for them if they were feeling that way. And that's why the connections that I hold in my life are so much deeper than what anything family related or familial related could be to me. And that's just because of things that I've been through, man. So, again, I hope that all this can resonate and give a better understanding, not just of myself and the things that I've been through, but, you know, the things that aren't normally talked about, that maybe we could just take a moment, just one moment in our lives to understand, so that, you know, the next person that we see that's going through something like that, you could be that person that's there for them, or saving their life, or being there for them when they need. Everybody needs that in life. And I'm just a lucky vessel to have received any sort of support in that regard. So, you know, I leave you guys with this, and I leave you with the opportunity, you know, if anyone who sees this or is willing to watch these videos, you know, and hear my life story in a brief, needs someone to talk to, I'm always there. You can DM me, you can call me, we can talk about it, you know, genuinely. And I'll listen to you, man, and we'll get our minds right, you know, from the things that we're going through. But it all starts with having the courage to open our mouths and speak about it. And that's all I'm going to leave you with. So thank you so much to anyone who actually was willing to hear me out. Any family that did see this, I hope that you don't take it necessarily personal, and more so understand that, you know, shoot, man, that story I talked about right now, I lost that friend and that family. They were more family to me than my own family, and I'll never have them back in my life. That shit makes me want to cry every day, because I've tried to reach out to that friend who is like my brother, man. And he doesn't even talk to me anymore. He doesn't. And he doesn't care to, you know. I remember revealing a whole bunch of stuff to him that I personally felt deep down about our friendship, that I didn't feel like he really cared about me anymore or anything like that. And to this day, man, you know, there's a lot of people that could give two fucks, but, you know, I'll always care for those people and the people that made bigger impacts in my life, and they'll never go forgotten, and they'll never go underappreciated, I'll tell you that. So, again, I leave you guys with all of this, and I hope that it can resonate with somebody in a positive light, and that, you know, it can give better understanding to the people who don't really know me or understand the things that I've gone through, or ever even knew the things that I was going through. So, thank you all. Genuinely, thank you all to anyone who listened to this up until this point and heard my life story in a brief. And I'm always here, open arms and open ears, if anybody needs to talk. So, thank you.